Hey peeps, how's it going? And today, I knew yesterday I said that it was going to probably be the last video I talked about the Pistons, but a couple of you guys in the comments of yesterday's video really wanted to talk live in vent. So this is what this is. This is just an opportunity for you guys to come in here, ask questions, get anything off your chest that you really want to get off your chest. So today is the day before we really make the transition and going to next year, because next year we got some stuff to talk about. I know I look kind of weird with the lighting right now, but it's sunny and I can't really fix it yet, but we'll get there. But before we talk about anything today, you guys know the drill. Next to the subscription button, there's a little bell icon. You want to, there we go, that looks a little bit better. You want to hit the little bell so that way you don't miss anything out. Posts, live streams, videos, anything like that. You will be notified first and get to watch it as soon as you can. Also in the description, Instagram, Twitter, go ahead and check those out. Without further ado, let's hop into this. Not necessarily. There are some quality free agents just outside the big names. Always getting big names here in Detroit is always tough. Not many people want to come to Detroit. It's not really a free agent destination. Let alone, I think they said we could offer at most a 4-year, $40 million contract. That is our max. So that is going to put a little bit damper on things. But you can get some quality free agents with that. As long as you don't do what Stan Van Gundy did and get those free agents that you could have got for cheap and overpay them. If you got guys now that you have on this team at much better contracts, no one really complains. But it is what it is. No, I do not think we're getting rid of Drummond. He is a building block for this team. I know that this postseason he didn't really play that well. I just think the pressure got to him, which is a problem, and the lack of effort is a problem. I'm not making any excuses there, but I mean, the guy we are better with Drummond than when we are without Drummond. I mean, every time we take him off the bench, there's a dip in the production of this team. So I don't think he's going anywhere. What you need to do before you officially give up on the Drummond experiment is get him a legit point guard. Kemba Walker is out there. You need to make as much room salary cap wise as you possibly can to get somebody like that. And I really think we're going to get rid of Reggie Jackson first before we get rid of Andre Drummond. Because Andre Drummond has never had an all-star point guard. And I think you get him someone like a Kyrie Irving caliber player, a guy who's an all-star but not necessarily a face of the NBA, a realistic one that you could get. That would be beneficial to not only the team but to Andre Drummond. I think we got to steal in Bruce Brown and Kyrie Thomas. I think both those guys' futures are bright, and those guys last year were second-round picks. Dwayne Casey knows how to draft young talent. I mean, look at what he did in Toronto. All those young guys up there, Dwayne Casey and Ed Stefanski. I think I said that right. I still can't pronounce it. That's a weird one, so don't judge me there. But they do a good job drafting young people. So I have full faith in them. And we drafted Tayshaun Prince at like 23rd. And he was a good reason we went to the finals and won. And we were so competitive for so long. Good defensive team. So with the 15th pick, we can get a steal. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Yeah, both Dre and Thon Maker are still super young. Really young. I keep saying in every video all of a sudden, I like the future of this team. I mean, you got Kennard, Bruce Brown, Kyrie Thomas, Shaviv, he's just been injured. You can't forget about him. But then Andre and Thon are both under 25. So, I mean, the future of this team is very bright. Very bright. And you know what, though, about the 15th through 20 pick, depending on how it's going to shape up, you might be able to package that. You got a couple expiring contracts this season. I know Reggie Jackson's the big one. Talking about he's only got like one more year. You might be able to package that with the first round pick and get something in return. Hopefully, if you trade Reggie Jackson, you get a point guard. But who knows? I would like to see them develop Kyrie Thomas or either Bruce Brown as the backup point guard, just to really help the movement of youth. But what do I know? I don't know if Ish Smith will be coming back. He played really well this season, so he might not be coming back. I never can tell if we're going to trade draft picks. It always seems we do. I'm not saying trade it. That's not what I want, but that's just kind of a what-if scenario. Not saying that we will or we won't, but if they are serious about competing and to improve upon the season, you need a couple things, because this team still has a lot of holes, and you can't fill them all at once. But in the next 2 to 3 seasons, you can do a really good job of filling those gaps and those holes. Giggity. You need a quality point guard that is going to get the majority of the minutes and make Blake and Andre better, along with the shooters. You really need a small forward, a 3-and-D guy, to stretch the floor, because we are stretched super thin there. I don't really think we have a true small forward. I think Glenn Robinson's really it, but I think he's more of a shooting guard than anything. We're just too small there. And then you need solid bench players. You don't really have anyone off the bench you dump the ball to go get a bucket, and it hurts because you have to keep either Blake or Drummond out there. And Drummond's not really the guy you put the ball to back to the basket, to bucket. That's just not in his game yet. But he could potentially get there. But you kind of ran Blake into the ground this season because you ran everything through him. And the shooters were just really inconsistent this year. Hopefully Luke Kennard can develop his game to become one of our primary scoring options. But more likely than not, he'll be our starting shooting guard next season. So his touches might be limited, but he can still run with that second unit when you take some of the starters out. But you don't have someone like a Lou Will or whoever, like six-man that you get. I'm not saying he has to get Lou Will, but you don't have anyone to give the ball to. And that shows. It really does. So with that being said, I think those are really the three. You got to get a starting point guard, a good small forward 3-and-D guy, and some depth. I think another thing you could add there is potentially another center. Zaza did not cut it. Thon's really more of a power forward than anything else. So, I mean, there's still so many ways to improve this team, but I don't really know what needs to come first. If I had to go out on a limb and say what needs to come first, it'd probably be either the small forward or the point guard. Just, you're not cutting it right now. And I like Reggie. I absolutely like Reggie when he's healthy. But the problem with him, obviously injuries, and he doesn't fit into Wayne Casey's system. Ricky Rubio might be the perfect fit for us. He's developed his game into something pretty good. He's not just a playmaker. He can put the ball on the floor, drive it in. He's always been talented around the rim. But what's really impressed me the most is his three-point shooting. He's really improved that. So that might be a guy you look into. I think Rondo is a free agent, which he might be a bench player for us, which I would not mind that whatsoever. I know he's a little bit hard-headed and maybe a little bit of a locker room issue, but he knows what it takes, and he'd be a true veteran, not what you have with Jose Calderon and Zaza Pachulia. You really need one of those guys on every team that have actually been somewhere and have done something. He's got glimpses of his old days still, but he's still old, and kind of a locker room issue. So I don't know. As a backup though, I'd really like to see Kyrie or Bruce Brown, but Ricky Rubio, I would love to have Ricky Rubio. That is something you can teach, though. I just think the problem with Zoe is confidence, because he's hit that jump shot in college, shooting is not only a good form, it's confidence. And when you don't have confidence, you're not going to hit anything. And being in LA with all the cameras and getting LeBron and drawing all that extra attention to yourself, it really put a big block on his shoulder, which I don't ever think he's going to be the guy to score or go off for night. This guy isn't going to be like Russell Westbrook, getting triple doubles and doing playmaking stuff. But I'd like to have Zoe. Well, fourth quarter, that's going to be Blake's territory for right now. So to set up looks for Blake, and Dre. There we go. Would just be his primary function. Scoring obviously helps, but Blake and Dre really have to make their own shots. They don't get any wide open looks very often. Really, Blake gets his stuff off the dribble now. He's a catch and shooter, but really he's got an ISO to get his stuff. I just really want a point guard that can open everything up and make it easier for Drummond and Griffin. Easier said than done, but again, man, this free agency is going to be very deep. A lot of quality guys out there, and you're gonna have to stay patient because the way it happens every year is maybe day one or day two, there's a couple small signings here and there. But after the big names like Kawhi, Butler, Kyrie go, then everything starts to fall into place, and you'll start seeing people do more solid moves. So you gotta stay patient with it. He's been on the Pistons radar for a few years now, I do believe. He's a solid player. I like him. Don't know if he'd necessarily be the answer, but he'd definitely be in the price range. You can't do anything wrong at this point. Just the whole Bruce Brown, Wayne Ellington thing defensively did not work. And offensively, Bruce Brown doesn't have a game there yet. Still to come. So, yeah, I like Mo Harkless, though. He's doing pretty solid stuff in the playoffs right now. Don't know if Portland's going to let him go anywhere, though. Well, you don't want to trade Blake because since what you've done acquiring Blake Griffin, you send a message to the fans, to the organization and the players in the locker room that you want to win. And I know you could get a lot in Blake Griffin. I mean, look what we traded for him. But Blake has really embodied being a leader. He wants to be here. His drive is rubbing off on this team. He's a good piece to have. I'd rather have Blake than not to have him, obviously. I mean, his game has improved so much. The knock on him is injuries. But if he stays healthy, and that's a big if, he is a top 15 player in the league still, which that doesn't happen very often, especially in Pistons history. I mean, the two players that I can think of off the top of my head that were top 15 while we were good were Grant Hill and Isaiah Thomas. I don't think Blake's going anywhere. I know you could get a lot in return for him, but I strongly don't think he's going anywhere. I've seen Blake Griffin grow this season. I think being traded has woke him up and made him realize that he needed to mature. In LA, there's a lot of stupid stuff that he was doing, punching team workers, training staff, all those guys, and just acting stupid, dating people from the Kardashians. Coming to Detroit has made him really a leader. He's more mature. He's funnier. I can tell you that much. The Ref You Suck chant was cracking me up. And I think he generally likes being here in Detroit. The fans showed him nothing but love. He's heard things from fans that he's never heard from in LA because Detroit basketball is different. The fans know what it takes to be good. And when you're giving it all, your all, we see that. And him playing on one leg, it's earned him a spot in Piston history where he'll never be forgotten. People in Detroit will always love him. he's matured so much, so incredibly much. I'm so happy that we got this guy. Just not just the God-given gift of him being good at basketball, but on and off the court, he's turned into a great guy. You've seen the video of him just the other day after his last interview for the season, going around individually shaking all the hands of the media staff. So you would have never heard or seen anything like that while he was in LA. And part of it is him being the main reason we are in the playoffs. This is really his team. It's his leader. He's the leader, I should say. And in LA, it was Chris Paul. So he had to grow up, and we're seeing him grow up, and it's good to see. Very good to see. He did. We had some good, nice building blocks. You have to, and it's funny I say this, credit Stan Van Gundy. Because without Stan Van Gundy, we wouldn't have Blake Griffin. And if there's one thing Stan Van Gundy did well, it was acquiring him. So I appreciate Stan Van Gundy for getting him. Blake Griffin has made the Pistons a must-see thing in Detroit. And it's kind of nice that it's happening because all four major Detroit sports teams have bright futures. Obviously, the Wings just got Steve Yzerman back to run the front office for them. The Pistons just made the playoffs. The Lions, under the new regime of Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn, getting their free agents that they wanted. So with those guys getting what they wanted, the Tigers have a bunch of young talent, and the Miners coming up. You're really starting to see a transition here in Detroit of youth and hope, which there hasn't been hope for all four sports teams in quite some time. Of course, every year we have hope in the Lions. Just blind faith in them. You talking about Kemba? Yes, Kemba is on the top of my list. The only problem with that is I just don't know how we're going to pay for him because I don't think we're going to have enough money to afford somebody like Kemba. Kemba has been on the top of my list for a minute. But if we do get Kemba or someone of Kemba's statue and equal, we will take off. That would be just an incredible move on the Pistons. I mean, that would legit be a big three. You would see numbers. Okay, I think we're back. Where was I leaving off at? Let me get that reposition there. Okay. So, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, Kemba Walker, Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond. They would all feed off of each other, obviously. That's kind of the missing link. Andre Drummond desperately needed a true point guard in his entire career. Hasn't got one. The closest thing he's gotten is Brandon Jennings and Reggie Jackson. Will Bynum actually underrated for that part, but again, not an all-star. Adding Kemba Walker to this team makes you legit. I really do believe you would be a top 4 team in the East. But I think a possibility, realistically, for them to do this would go into luxury tax, which if Tom Gores is serious about winning, he needs to sacrifice the money and make this team good. And adding Kemba Walker, that just having Kemba Walker and Andre Drummond, if you take Blake Griffin out of the equation, would be just crazy to think about. Because Kemba Walker's never really had a true center to play with. He's had Dwight Howard, but Dwight Howard hasn't ever recovered since he left Orlando. He was all right in Houston, but he wasn't the Dwight Howard of Orlando. And the time he got to Charlotte, he's pretty much non-existent. So, with that being said, adding Kemba Walker with Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond, it's just crazy to think about. Absolutely crazy to think about. Obviously, that's move on from Reggie Jackson, which I feel it's going to be harder to move him just personally, because a couple things that he has said to the media, that he likes Detroit, loves his teammates. I don't know if he's just saying that because he thinks he's going to get traded, or if he actually means it. But him saying that, it means a lot because the athletes that come to Detroit, they don't have to like it. They're here for a paycheck or whatever. Um, when they actually say that they enjoy playing here, it means a lot. It really does. All right. Yeah, bench would be another thing to add on to getting Kemba. But if you get Kemba, you won the offseason in my eyes. So, I mean, you got so much things you have to fill. You can't do them all at once, unfortunately. You don't make a championship team overnight. It took Dwayne Casey like 7 years to get Toronto to finally realize their potential, get the players that he wanted, and make them competitive. So you have to be patient. You can't win a championship overnight. The '04 team was really special because it happened so fast. It doesn't always work that way. So you just gotta stay patient. And I know, not everyone has patience. I don't have strong patience. I'm very impatient, especially when I'm driving. Um, but slow and steady always wins the race. You don't want to make moves to make moves. You got to make sure they are quality moves that are going to help you. You don't just want to trade people to get them off their roster. Um, Especially when you want to trade for someone like Kemba or whatever. Because again, I think that's the only way we are going to get Kemba, if it would be a sign and trade. So look for that. But again, though, I think he likes Charlotte. Charlotte's really a piece or two away from being good there. So if they can persuade him to come back, who knows? But we definitely need to upgrade the point guard. Just Reggie Jackson, the way Dwayne Casey wants to run the offense, just doesn't fit, unfortunately. And it's awesome to see that he came back and played all 82 games. But under Dwayne Casey, it's just not going to work out for him. He was a Stan Van Gundy guy. Pick and roll is his game, which he'll go somewhere and have a bounce back season. It's just a matter of time. But this offseason needs to be very important for the Pistons. And just because you have some extra money doesn't necessarily mean you have to spend it. But between this season and next season, you got some money coming off the books to spend. So, again, stay patient with it. You went to the playoffs the first year under Dwayne Casey. Dwayne Casey improved Toronto every single season. So, I mean, going 42 wins is not going to be hard, and you should very much achieve that. So, 42 plus is what we're looking for, just for improvement-wise. But right now, I think healthy, we can win 46 without adding or subtracting anybody. I just think this team really grew together at the end of the season. And after the All-Star break, they really clicked. You did good. Just adding players at the deadline and the waiver wire. And if you keep doing moves like that throughout the seasons, you are going to be very happy with this team. So, excuse me. I don't know. What do you guys want? Besides Kemba Walker, who do you guys want to see come in here? If Kemba Walker resigns with Charlotte or whatever, who do you guys want to see come in here? Yeah, John Lewis' contract expired. He's not coming back. Just never used him, which it's kind of a shame because he was all right when he played for Phoenix. Just, again, though, that was the Stan Van Gundy thing. You overpaid for a guy who never even played. Hence why Stan Van Gundy is not here in Detroit anymore. I would love to see Ish Smith re-signed. Just unfortunately, I think he's going to get a lot of money. He played extremely well in his stint here in Detroit. And I think someone took notice of that. So I think Ish Smith is going to get paid. Again, man, if his jumper is consistent. He's a starting point guard in this league. So, as much as I'd love to see Ish Smith come back, I just don't know if he would. I'm not sure of Rudy Gay's contract, but that would be a solid pickup on Detroit's end. I know before he went to San Antonio, there was a rumor about Detroit, but talk about the small forward that we need. Experienced. I had a couple years in San Antonio, a great scoring option, solid defender. That would fit perfectly what we've got, and I would say he is in our price range. So if you get Rudy Gay, that would be solid. Again, though, I don't know if he's a free agent. Yeah, the problem with him, though, Ish Smith wise, is does the front office want him back? Obviously they should, but at the same time, you got to progress with the team. I want Ish Smith back too, don't get me wrong, but Kyrie Thomas and Bruce Brown really need to get more playing time. So let's say this. Let's say you trade Reggie Jackson away. You re-sign Ish. That could work. But Ish, for us right now, until his jump shot is consistent, he is going to be the sixth man off the bench. Don't have a problem with Ish. I love Ish. Just, again, though, I think there's going to be a team out there who is going to be in the Terry Rozier chase that wants Terry Rozier as their starting point guard, and he goes somewhere else, that they might put all the money they're going to give to Terry to Ish Smith. I just think that there's a gut feeling about that. I hope Ish stays. I know he said that Ish Smith is really the first place that has accepted him for who he is and what he is. So hopefully he does stay. But again, the NBA is crazy. There are some ridiculous contracts out there. So who knows? Who knows? Brown and Shaviv both have bright futures ahead of them. There could be potentially a rotation or a lineup that's very small that would incorporate the four players I talked about earlier with Kyrie Thomas, Bruce Brown, Luke Kennard, and Shaviv. It'd be very small, but very effective. Bruce Brown has the defense of end already locked down. That's why he played so much. A lot of the problem with young guys coming in is defense. That's why there's always so many people not playing. Offense just takes time to develop. Defense is way harder to get the mentality for. Bruce Brown's already got that part. His offense will come in due time. He may never be a good shooter like Luke Kennard or Shaviv, but he's going to be good. Just be patient with Bruce Brown, okay? This guy is going to be good. I'm not saying an all-star or superstar, but he is going to be a solid player. Maybe like a Marcus Smart for us. Yeah, they did the same experiment with Luke Kennard, which I like that. Luke Kennard's playmaking skills, just knowing when to pass the ball, has really grown from his first season to his second season. So if you kind of make Shaviv that, I'd be cool with that. It's never a bad thing to learn more than one position, especially with positionless basketball right now. Everyone needs to be able to put the ball on the floor and make something happen. Because right now, all he can do is shoot. Well, from what we've seen, we've barely seen him. But his athleticism is very underrated. And if you play him, he's going to have kind of a breakout season. Because even LA, they never really gave him a shot. Again, that might be your sixth man off the bench or your go-to option. I mean, the future for this team is bright. We just don't know how to get to the end of the tunnel yet, which we're starting to see glimpses of light. It's just how we're going to get there is really the question. Because everyone, no matter if they agree with what I say or not, we all have different viewpoints on how we're going to get to the end of the tunnel. But the end of the goal is to get to the tunnel. So I know no matter how we feel about how we should do, we all want to get there. I think Game 3 really bugged him. I was there, for those of you who don't know, and the boos were loud. The guys I sat by, just like the whole section, were dogging him the whole game. And it's tough for a player that has been in the city for what, 7, 8 years, for them to boo you during the playoffs. It's tough, and he deserved some of the boos, just for effort wise. But that's tough, very tough. And people at 97.1, they always dog them. If I was a Detroit athlete, I would not go on 97.1, just because they only talk about the negative sides. They never talk about the positive. Them talking about the Red Wings and getting Steve Eiserman was the most positive thing I've ever heard from them. So I would not go on 97.1 to talk about them at all. How's it going, man? And another thing about Drummond, though, he's not the leader. He's part of the leadership. Blake Griffin is the leader. And when Blake went out, Dre became the leader, which is tough because all his years in Detroit, he's never really had the guy to learn from. Josh Smith, don't even get me started there. Greg Monroe was still young. They've never had the guy. Chauncey Billups came back and was really that leader, and that was probably in his career probably the most leadership that he's ever seen. So he was only there for a little bit, maybe a year. Even then, I don't even know how long Chauncey was here that second time. But he's never had the guy to learn how to be a leader from. So he's really learning how to do it on himself and learning from Blake. And at the same time, Blake Griffin's still learning how to do it. So just give Dre some time to really adjust to how to be this leader. If Game 4 was any indication, I know he still didn't have a great game, but the effort was there. And that is part of being what a leader is to, no matter if you're going to have a good game or bad game, to go out there and lay it all on the floor. And it's sad it took to Game 4 for the Pistons to realize that. But you just got to give them time. Not everyone turns into what Giannis is and takes off right away. It takes a lot of time for some players to adjust to it. And we're on the right track, okay? We are still better with Dre than without him. Yeah, Dre's going to be a Piston next season. No doubt about it. He's not going anywhere unless he requests a trade, which is a high possibility, especially the way that people on social media treat him, that NBA broadcasters treat him. He might feel like he wants out of Detroit. I don't know. I'm not Andre Drummond. I don't want to think about that until something like that does happen. But if that is the case, and Andre Drummond does want out of Detroit, that is going to be a shit stain for the Pistons organization. Because you put him on Boston. Put him on the Celtics right now. Boston is a completely different team for the better. You wouldn't be hearing about Kyrie Irving wanting to leave Boston because they would have a legit center. That's what Boston's missing right now, is a true center. Al Horford's really more of a power forward, so they're small. You give them Andre, and they take off. Give Toronto Andre before they acquire Marc Gasol. They would be way much better. Milwaukee before Brook Lopez would be so much better. Brooklyn would be crazy. I mean, Andre has his flaws. He's not perfect. He's not God. He's not the greatest player in NBA history, but he's pretty damn good. And he is good enough that if you trade him, he is going to make that team better. Don't care where he gets traded to, they would be better than where they are now. So you don't just want to let him go. You got to get a lot in return for him. Exactly. Blake does has his flaws too, but he has rekindled the fire for the Detroit Pistons. He has really made the fan base get behind this team. And I haven't seen this much emotion from Pistons fans in forever. Since the last time we made the playoffs in 2016, but it wasn't as strong as it is right now. Right now, we have a short window in Blake Griffin's career where if we put enough pieces around him, we can compete for a championship. I mean, it's there. The pieces are there. Um, some of the mistakes that we have made in the past have haunted us. Imagine if we had Chris Middleton right now or Spencer Dinwiddie around this team right now. It would be crazy. Some of the contracts have hurt us. Right now, we are still paying Josh Smith's contract. Um, and it's those mistakes of the past that have really hurt this team. Uh, Passing up players in the draft, Donovan Mitchell, Kemba Walker, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Dwayne Wade, Melo, Bosch, so on and so forth, is really what's hurt this team. Um, if you could fix those mistakes going into the future, which is always harder to predict the draft than bad contracts. But you got to do your best. And I trust Dwayne Casey and the scouting team and Ed Stefanski of drafting players. So I think we're on the right track there of drafting good players. Bad contracts, I don't know yet. I really don't know because we were limited with the addition of Blake Griffin and Andre last season, just their contract between them and Reggie, of getting free agents last season. So a lot of the free agents we got last season were just 1 year rentals. So Zaza, Jose, and Glenn Robinson are all expiring contracts this season, and those were the 3 newest additions to this team. So you might see something similar to that this offseason. But I don't think we're going to re-sign Wayne Ellington. I think he's gone, which I don't mind because he kind of disappeared in the playoffs. The thing you want to build with Detroit right now, because the East is on the rise. Now that LeBron's gone, a lot of teams are taking more risk and opportunities to become good. I mean, what Philadelphia did was crazy in adding all those pieces. But you want to establish an identity with the Pistons right now of making the playoffs and what it takes to get to the playoffs. So making the playoffs the first season under Dwayne Casey was huge start. Huge start. And I know we are getting criticized for getting swept, but at the same time, this isn't Dwayne Casey's team yet. It's still a majority of Stan Van Gundy. So with people like Langston Galloway slowly going away, John Lure, all these bad contracts starting slowly but surely starting to go away, you're going to see Dwayne Casey get the guys he wants to get. And it won't be that much longer till you start hearing the same things about the Lions, where you started to sign a whole bunch of former Toronto guys. Terrence Ross. I wanted to get him before he went to Orlando. He would be a guy on the trade watch, whoever. I really think him coming to Detroit would be beneficial for not only him, but for us. I liked Terrence Ross when he was in Toronto. But you're going to see something like that, where Dwayne Casey is going to get a bunch of ex-Raptors people. The bench needs to definitely get shaken up. Again, though, I'm not really sure what the answer is for that one. I really think it's just playing the young guys. Make sure you play Kyrie Thomas, Shaviv. Get something new out there. I didn't get to see that all the way. Yeah, let me see if I can read this one now. Yeah, he is the sole purpose of where the Pistons are at right now. Stan Van Gundy, only bright thing I say about him is he got us Blake Griffin. The contracts he gave out, garbage. The young trade, or the young players that he traded, absolutely terrible. I mean, crazy. Trading away Chris Middleton for Redding Jennings, at the time did not seem like a big deal. But watching Middleton, I knew he was going to be good. I liked watching him play. And, like, what was it? A year and a half, 2 years Jennings was here before he tore his Achilles. It really cost you. Who did we even get for Spencer Dinwiddie? I don't even remember. But now he's having a breakout season. And they won a playoff game in Brooklyn against a very talented 76ers team. And Brooklyn wouldn't be where they were at without him. So, I mean, Stan Van Gundy really hurt this team. I mean, this team could have been scary, absolutely scary. And some of it's Joe Dumars' fault. Before we start blaming Stan. Joe Dumars, after the 04 team, really did this, and I guess it started there with the draft, just did a shitty job drafting players. The contracts were worse. I mean, Charlie Villanueva, Ben Gordon, Josh Smith, all those contracts are god awful. And we never did anything. We were mediocre at best, just on the verge of making the playoffs. I mean, you weren't even bad enough where you were getting good picks. You were just for so long. That's about to change. I mean, everyone that we got now knows what it takes to make a competitive team. And that's always good. It always starts with the front office. So the Pistons are on the right track. Yeah, I'm tired of Stan Van Gundy too. I'm tired of just the whole media inside and outside of Detroit just dogging us constantly. ESPN just tweeted out, it's been a rough few years for the Detroit fans in general. Like, come on, dude. Like, with the exception of the Lions, Detroit sports have always been good, especially the Red Wings. The Red Wings were good for, 25 years? Come on, dude. Come on, really? Come on. Probably after the draft. That is when free agency happens, and there's like a 3-day period where you are able to talk to your guys and re-sign them before free agency starts. So it would be like a couple days after the draft, whenever the draft is. I don't know if the draft has a date yet. I know the finals are in June, so it's usually right after the finals. I mean, basketball season just continues. It doesn't really stop. There's always something going on, but we're not that far away. People are talking bad about him just for his effort in the playoffs. You know what happened. Okay, God, if I can finish this. But yeah, fans don't like Drummond. All right, let's try to wrap this up because I gotta go back to work real quick. If he starts 13 points, and I said that beginning of this season because I really thought Luke Kennard would be starting. I really did, but he didn't. But if he starts, he's a 13-point scorer right now. All right. Yeah, we really got to assure that bench. So it's going to happen. It's only a matter of time for it to really take off. So give him time. Again, free agency might be a little bit more longer waiting-wise because it really doesn't take place until the big names go first. So just be patient with the front office doing this because they have to get people at a fair price, which they will. Backup center, backup shooting guard, backup point guard is all we need. But thank you guys for coming out. I had to go back to work. Very buggy stream today. Just couldn't get a good connection. But we'll fix that, find out what caused that. But gotta go back to work. Links in the description, Instagram, Twitter. Check those out. So thank you guys for coming all out. I'll have to do another one because we had some good topics to talk about. Find a day that I'm free and do one for an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is. But this one went on for 45 minutes. Could have been an hour if it would.